Amenhotep. I am Sat Ra Ntrt Kefa Menaugnk Maat. And this is my brother, Sat Ra Ntrt Amenhotep Setep and Ra MerriAmen.
Hotep. Shalom.
This video was titled Marriage and Matrimony. This video is for those who are going into the institution of marriage, who are already in the institution of marriage, and those who are coming out of the institution of marriage. First, let me speak on, in the Kemetic sciences, they speak of User and Uset. For those who do not know who that is, in Greek, that would be Osiris and Isis. User and Uset spiritually are brother and sister, excuse me, and they are married in the matrimony of the One Most High, their connection in the spirit of husband and wife. They are what is called the truest meaning of matrimony, the connection and bond in the spirit realm of two entities coming together to make one entity. And that matrimony is in the spirit realm, which is different from what is called marriage here in the physical realm.
Right.
They're two totally different type of entities. One is in the sanction of the One Most High, and the other is what man has created when two people come together and come to an agreement of working in one household and working together to have a one mind together and things like that.
True. We have a philosopher, Amenhotep, that says, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. That word marry means to be happy, to love. You know, we have a lot of marriages in our life. You know, our jobs, our relationships, you know, just communication with our friends. You know, we have a lot of marriages in our life. You know, but we only have one matrimony. You know, and you know, no offense to anybody out there or how your lifestyle is, but when you have a masculine identity and a feminine identity that comes together underneath of one identity, right, then that's when you have that matrimony, you know, that's matched up. You know, if you ever take a look at a plus sign and a minus sign, you know, a minus sign is just a plus sign without a line. You know, so it still matched up with each other.
Right.
Okay, but a lot of people get these vows confused when they go into matrimony before the eyes of the One Most High. You know, it's a vow. You need to break your words down. Vow. It's a vow, a promise that you take before the eyes of God, the Shaddai, El Shaddai, God Almighty, or however you want to pronounce it, El. You know. And to honor these vows really is the encompassment of comprehending what Asar and Aset really had to go through to become one with each other for real. You know, of remembering, of putting back together, of sacrifice, devotion. You know, devotion, you know, and even getting the family members together to bring back, right, to resurrect the God or the family. Right. That way it can come back to the strength of where it needs to be, a matrimony.
Right. And I think, to break in for a sec, but I think a lot of times that we have lost a certain type of connection when it comes to two people coming together. There are many things that are lost in coming together in just friendships, because a lot of people have relationships and don't have friendships in their relationships anymore. They don't know how to talk to each other. They don't know how to work things out. They don't know how to do these things without arguing and fighting it all the way through. I have taken notice that even in my own personal relationships with people, even with my children, you know, that's again another part of those marriages, is learning how to talk to people and learning how to open up. But doing so, we forget that one major thing in our relationships and our links to these people is continuing at all times, no matter what your spiritual practice is, no matter what your religious practice is keeping the one most high in the forefront of your mind, so that when you're speaking to that person, you know that you are speaking into the Spirit of God in that person, so that you should not want to yell at that person, you should not want to fight at that person, you should want to share what your thoughts are on something that may be happening between the two of you that is not working, and just speak on it, share about it, say these things are hurting me, these things are bothering me, all the things that you do. The worst thing to do in friendships, relationships, marriages, matrimony, any of those things, is to point your finger at somebody else and say that you did this to me, I don't like when you do this to me, and so on. Because remember, when you're pointing at somebody, you have 3 fingers pointing back at you. Right. You know, and a lot of people forget that, and that's letting you know that maybe there must be something that's within you that is actually might be an issue that you have to work with to get through, so that you can be able to connect back to the one who you're with. And
also, communication is definitely key. You know, as the story goes, Set, you know, I know this is going to sound kind of crazy, but Set, when he finally was defeated by Heru, he was sentenced to become the wind that pushes Asar's boat. So when we speak, we have wind that comes out of our mouth called breath. So therefore, how are we supposed to get Asar's message across of atonement if we don't speak to each other?
Very good point.
So, when it comes down to these, let's go on to the first aspect of it, these marriages. Okay. Because just because you put a ring on somebody's finger and you took a vow before God, in your mind you're saying, oh man, I'm married. And that's all you say is, I'm married. You did not once step back and said, I made a vow of matrimony for sickness and in health, to death do us part. Now, there's also a part inside of the scripture book that I like to go by, that I relate to, the Holy Bible, where it talks about Messiah answering a question where they said, well, is it better for you to be married or single? And he just plainly said that it's better for you to be single, because if you're not going to go ahead and hold up your vows of matrimony, then basically you're not doing anything. Your best to be single and to go ahead and hold yourself to be to yourself, basically, right, than to go ahead and take a vow before the holy court, the matrimony, and then go ahead and mess up in that matrimony.
Right.
You know. And that's like I said, that's just out of the book that I go ahead and read for myself. A lot of other people have different scripture books out there, you know, Matthew, Quran, Hadith, Torah, you know, a couple other books. All scripture is given by inspiration of God.
Right.
Don't forget that.
But in speaking of our marriages and stuff that we go through, that when we take that vow, we must understand what we're taking. You know, when you are sitting there, it's not just about the whole romance and the ambiance and, oh, she's wearing this beautiful white dress with a veil and all these beautiful flowers all over the place and your friends and family are there. At that moment, when that pastor, that priest, whoever it is that is sanctioned to be able to marry a man and a woman together, or however it is, that it should only be of hearing the voice of that pastor or whoever it is that's marrying you, and only seeing you and the person you're marrying and the one most high with you. And knowing that when you're looking in that person's eyes and that person's looking into your eyes, that you are sharing these vows and speaking to the God in them, and they're speaking to the God in you. And a lot of people don't do that because marriage today has been is almost been made into a joke. People are not taking marriage seriously at all. They think that, oh, because I may work pretty well with this person, or she's cute, or he's hot, and well, you know, well, we got some good money together, or we got kids and all this other stuff, we should go ahead and do this. You have to know in the spirit that this marriage is right. You can't just jump into relationships with people and not truly know that this person is the one that you're with, as they say. And it took a long time. Actually, it took this brother right here to explain to me what that really means to be evenly yoked. And because even when I was, like I said, I was married for 7 years one time before, and even in my marriage, I had to go through a lot of stuff to get the gist of what marriage was about, you know. And I hated marriage for a long time, the idea, because how I saw my friends around me and the people that I saw and knew how their marriage worked, it just didn't seem right. You know, and even how they talk about it in the Bible, how they talk about it in different other practices and so on, and even just how I viewed marriage to be, it was just nothing like that. And back then, it wasn't until he explained to me because he was in the military, and he gave in a military sense on how marriage was, and it made sense to me, and it made it so that it didn't give me this thought that, oh, man is over woman and she has no power, she can't speak, and, you know, oh, he got the last word and she can't say nothing and all this other stuff. And that's how marriage has always been presented to me, and he shared something totally different with me to help me to see differently.
You see, and then that's another thing, you know. I mean, you have to, you know, once again, I'm going to go back to the book that I referenced to. You know, you have to look at it, you know, when in Genesis 1:5, where it talks about, you know, God created a morning and an evening. Now, in the morning you have the sun. In the evening you have the moon. Both of them together equals one day. So therefore, if man is the sun and the woman is the moon, then we got to work together to equal one family. You know. The way I described it to her before I went into that book, I described it to her as this. You have a general. With that general, you have a sergeant major. Okay? The general, of course, make sure that the paperwork is done, the troops are marching in order, and this, that, and the third. The sergeant major is the one that gets down in the dirt to make sure that the troops are trained up. Training is up to par. That way, when the general asks for something and the sergeant major reports back to him, the whole thing works as a unit, and they can triangulate and walk forward, right down the middle of whatever they got to walk right down the middle of. You know, a famous pharaoh figured that one out. His name was Ramesses during the Battle of Kadesh. He figured it out that, hey, look, let me just go ahead and triangulate myself and just call upon the spirit of all men like we're supposed to, and walk straight down the middle, you know, of this whole thing. And hey, the proof is on the walls. You know, so what can I say, you know? But yeah, you know, a woman is our Eve, you know. Once again, the book that I read talks about how the woman comes from the rib of man, and that's a metaphor. It's meta for you, meta for me.
He's going to finish us off on the second part. Give us just a moment.
Hotep.
Hotep.